Please, would you join me in welcoming Serena's President and CEO, Greg Hughes, to the stage.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, it's great to be here this morning, and I first of all just want to thank everybody who participates in this event for helping us pull this off. First of all, our customers, thank you for coming, thank you for doing your presentations, thank you for eagerly joining in all that is Serena xChange. Our partners, thank you so much for helping us fund this and making it happen. And to the Serena team that has been working so hard over the last couple of months to really pull this together, I want to thank you as well. So this is going to be a great couple of days and a lot of people involved, and very appreciative and grateful to you for the work. I think one of the things that really strikes me about this conference, and that all of you in the room should feel proud about, and I commend you for, is the spirit of learning. You come here to learn. You know, you want to develop some skill. You want to take something back to your organization, some nugget that you've learned from other people here at xChange. And I think that's one of the greatest motivations for anything. It's one of the things that really motivates me. It's motivated me my entire life, is the love of learning. And I'm going to share with you today some of what I've learned over the last couple of years at Serena, talking to customers around the world. I've probably talked to hundreds of customers. And I share with you some of the things that I've learned. And I know that many of you in this room, almost all of you, touch the software development lifecycle at your organizations in some way. And you know the pressure on the software development lifecycle, the pressure to go faster, to innovate more quickly, to make sure that new release gets to market before your competitors. The new fix is installed and changed very, very fast. And there's this incredible pressure to go faster and faster. And if you worked at small companies, you could move fast and break things. Does anybody recognize this slogan? There you go. This was the slogan of Mark Zuckerberg for Facebook in 2004. Over 10 years ago, Facebook was a small company. He was trying to get the developers to go faster. Just write code, ship it, get it out the door. Move fast and break things. I don't care. But in this room, the people here work for organizations that I call Hurleys. Does anybody know what a Hurley is? Can anybody guess? Hurry up and do something. That's pretty good. I like that. It's very good. Anybody else? Any guess? Peter? I just cold called Peter, so I wasn't ready for it. But no? Ash? Hurley? Kevin? Where's Kevin? Kevin knows everything.
High availability, really
pretty good.
Really lovely.
That's pretty good. That's the best guess so far. I'll stop there. A Hurley, H-R-L-E, is a highly regulated large enterprise. Don't feel bad if you didn't know what it was. I just made it up yesterday. Okay? But Hurleys are different, right? Hurleys are not like small companies. You've got brands to protect, reputations to protect, regulatory standing to uphold. You've got assets, intellectual property you've got to protect. Hurleys in industries like banking, wealth management, financial services, insurance, government, aerospace and defense, automotive, these industries, you've got to do things differently. You can't move fast and break things. You've got to move fast without breaking things. How do you go fast without breaking things? That's the question for everybody in this room. And I like to think about it like a pit stop. I did a little research on pit stops. You know how fast a pit stop has to go to be competitive? Just over 2 seconds. 1 second longer, and you're going to lose the race. 1 second. All these people running around, making all these changes, the car, changing all the tires, the wheels, gassing it up. It's got to happen in just over 2 seconds. But if you make a mistake, you lose the race before you even get out of the pit stop. So that's the challenge. How do you move fast without breaking things? How do you ship code, have a faster, higher velocity software development lifecycle, but also protect the organization and protect against the really big risks of security, compliance, and performance? So now I'm going to go way off script. I told Kevin I was going to surprise everyone. He's probably not prepared for this. But I'm going to talk about why now. Why is this more important than ever before? Well, there's been a number of really important technology disruptions where software is at the center of making those happen. And so this problem of moving fast without breaking things has never been more important. And the first and probably most important technology disruption is mobile computing. So now I'm going to go off script a little bit, and I'm going to talk about something from my past. You ever heard the expression, "You never forget your first love"? Never heard that expression? Well, I'm going to show you a picture of my first love. Now, I've never done this before, never done it in a big audience. It's a little embarrassing, when you look at those old pictures that some of you really cared about, you kind of go, well, I don't know what I saw in her. Kevin's looking a little nervous back there. But here she is. Here she is in all her glory on the left-hand side. That was my first mobile computer. Is that a beauty? Look at those sleek lines. That great beige color, Slim, 32 pounds. That was it. First one, bought it in 1985. It's called the Columbia PC. I'd walk around like this with this thing. 4.7 megahertz microprocessor. 8-bit 8088. 128K of RAM. 2 floppy disk drives, each one 320K. Wow, that's a sweet machine. But, things move on. Not all relationships last forever. And I've moved on now, and that's the machine I lust after now is the iPhone 6. I gotta say, that's, dual-core 1.4 gigahertz microprocessor, 64-bit. 1 gig of RAM, all in a 6-ounce package. 128 gigs of solid-state disk. 400,000 times more storage than the machine on the left. And that's not it. You think about pixel count, 64,000 in the Columbia, 2 million in the iPhone 6. Communications. 200 bits per second in the Columbia. You remember that sound, you dial the modem? Some of you are probably too young to remember that. I remember that thing. That one's Wi-Fi, 7 gigabits per second. 35 million times more bandwidth. That's just staggering, right? Price? That thing was over $3,000. I couldn't afford it new. I had to buy it used. I was a student. I bought it used. iPhone 6, $499. So this is the deal now. We're all going to have a supercomputer in our pocket at all times, connected with almost impossibly high bandwidth to everybody else and everything on the planet. And that's why software is so central and so important now, because that's going to change everything. And that's just one of the technology trends that are going on where software is right at the middle of it. So what's happening? You're seeing it right now. Companies are moving towards modern development practices. Of course, waterfall, the venerable software development practice, will always be around. It's all very important for many different types of applications, but people are trying new things out. Agile, parallel programming, continuous integration, continuous delivery, lean, DevOps. It's just a spectrum of different development practices. And these are, they're all important. I think it's important, and I believe that software developers should be allowed to innovate, try new things out, try to go faster. That's part of the job. But there are risks, and there's 3 key risks that I want to talk about this morning that affect the software development lifecycle, and are going to affect it increasingly over the coming years. And the first risk is security. Right? And you heard a lot last year about security. It's just in the news all the time. But I'm going to go back a couple of years. Before I joined Serena, I was an executive at Symantec. I ran the enterprise product group at Symantec. And one of the things we knew was happening, we knew that companies were getting intellectual property stolen from them. But they weren't talking about it. Right? This was intellectual property that didn't want to disclose that it was being stolen. And then, all of a sudden, Google announced on a public blog post that they were the victim of a very sophisticated cyber attack that originated from China. And it was solely focused on taking intellectual property from Google, primarily source code. And it wasn't just Google, it was 20 other companies across a range of different industries. Financial services, aerospace and defense, a whole range of different companies were attacked. It was the first example of something called an advanced persistent threat. We heard about these. This is the first example. An advanced persistent threat. It used to be that when cyber attacks happened, the hacker wanted everybody to know, hey, I did this. You wanted to take responsibility, wanted to make a big show of it. This was quiet and stealthy. Invaded the network, creeped around, found the intellectual property he was looking for, and then whoop, takes it, pulls it out before the alarm bells go out. That was source code. And there were some commentators that said, at the time, the source code was open. It was wide open. The crown jewels of the enterprise, wide open. And attackers going in, trying to get that source code, trying to make changes, trying to find it. Big challenge, big problem. Next risk, compliance. Big challenge for the highly regulated enterprise and directly affects the software development lifecycle. This is something that you read the regulatory, you actually read the original writings, and it directly affects the software development lifecycle. Segregation of duties, specific changes have to happen and be auditable, trackable. You all know the challenge of managing the thicket of regulations that has occurred since Sarbanes-Oxley in 2001. State, federal, multiple agencies. It's very costly. The latest regulation, something called Reg SCI from the SEC, people are estimating it's going to take over $200 million a year to comply with that regulation. That's extremely expensive. So companies looking for ways to do it more cheaply. And it's real business. This is really, this stuff really matters. Courts take it very seriously, and they're prosecuted. So management teams take this very, very seriously. So that's the second risk. And the third risk is performance. Now this guy obviously had a very bad day. And I'm going to tell you why he had a very bad day. So performance, when I talk about performance, I mean it very broadly. I mean the software performs as it's intended to perform. And one of the biggest challenges to that happening, one of the biggest things that can go wrong, is in between development to production. Making all those little steps happen and happen in exactly the right way. We call it the release management process. That can be one of the areas where things can go most badly. And in this case, it really did. About as bad as it can get. So what had happened is that in 2012, Knight Capital Group they were one of the most successful high-frequency trading firms on Wall Street, taking advantage of tiny little arbitrage opportunities. Adding that all up, they made a lot of money. They were actually responsible for over 10% of the trading volume of the New York Stock Exchange at any given time. That's enormous, a lot of power. So they were feeling great. And in June 2012, they heard about this new program that the New York Stock Exchange was going to offer called the Retail Liquidity Program. And they thought, well, we'll take advantage of that. We want to be first to market to take advantage of this new program. We're going to make a ton of money. It was announced in June, and it was going to go live in August of 2012. So they had their programmers working overtime to get ready so that Knight could just clean up. And they had them working hard. They had it ready by August 1st, the date of go live. Retail liquidity program starts. Knight Capital turns on their new program. And within 30 minutes, they had gone bankrupt. They had lost $450 million because of bad software that they released. I mean, that's why this poor guy had a very bad day. They're over. They're done. And when people look back, there was a third party look back to find out, to try to figure out what happened. People had to try to, piece it together. And what they figured out is that Knight Capital Group had mistakenly left in what was promoted to production a test module. And that test module executed test trades. Buy a little bit of this at GM, sell a little bit of this at GE, buy some of Google here, sell a little Apple there. It was only meant to test the program, not actually execute the trades. And that's what happened. They lost, they lost the company. So getting it wrong, obviously, is a catastrophe. So these are three major risks: security, compliance, and performance. So where are we now in the software development lifecycle in terms of preparing for these risks? And what I believe is we've done a lot, but we need to do more. If you look at the typical software development lifecycle, the systems that underpin a software development lifecycle in a hurry, there are many different systems. There are different development teams might be using different systems, different geographies, different sites, different divisions in an enterprise using different technologies. And we've made a lot of progress collectively. The vendors and the industry, you have made a lot of progress collectively. We're testing much broader coverage with much better test coverage. We're building more quickly. There's been a lot of things that have been very big positives, but there's still weaknesses. Right? We have open source code repositories that have proliferated around the enterprise. Developers may not be happy with the restrictions in the way their existing tools are implemented, or downloading open source repositories to store their source code. But people don't really understand how vulnerable those open source code repositories actually are. And they're not designed with security and compliance foremost in mind. The developers oftentimes given complete administrative privileges and rights to stand these up. That's not what they do. They do it part-time. What's the access control, something like that? What's the authentication? With all the different technologies and different stovepipes, it's very hard to have an end-to-end view of the software development lifecycle and manage the process. If you can't manage the process, how do you enforce segregation of duties? How do you track things and make sure things are traceable? How do you report on that? And because it's a very manually, heavily labor-intensive process. So, we've made a lot of progress, but given the challenges in front of us, we've got to go a lot farther. And these are I'm going to talk about 5 best practices that I think will really help. As I stand here now, as I've spent 2 years talking to customers, I think these are the 5 best practices that really will make a difference as we go forward. The first one is make sure we adopt developer-friendly tools. If the developers don't like the tools, they're going to circumvent them. So what's the point? This is rule number 1. We need invisible guardrails in the tools, so that that they can develop fast, be creative, but also not make mistakes. Second, upgrade the level of process control in the end-to-end software development lifecycle. Like I said, it can be lots of different silos. We need some way to manage the process control across the software development lifecycle and make sure things are happening when they need to happen. We all implemented a secure software development lifecycle within our organizations. Automate wherever possible. Now, automation really, I think, is like a free lunch, right? You lower costs and you reduce errors. Very important to do wherever you can do that. 4, get rid of repository proliferation and centralize into a single, secure source code management system. Google, with 15,000 software developers, is able to centralize into one repository. Why can't we do that? And then finally, continue using the mainframe for your core transactional applications. In an environment where security is foremost concern and risk, there's no more secure platform than the mainframe, no more available platform than the mainframe. It's an incredibly reliable and robust platform. So I think these are the 5 best practices for moving fast without breaking things. So let's talk a little bit about Serena. This is the way we think about the SDLC model. We've been doing this for 35 years. We'll be celebrating our birthday, 35 years. We're obsessed with Hurleys. And we started our first customer was Bank of America. That was where we wrote the first customer. Now we have 8 out of the top 10 banks, 6 of the top 10 mutual insurance companies, 5 out of the top 5 aerospace and defense, 3 out of the top 3 health insurance and healthcare firms. So we are really focused on the needs of the highly regulated large enterprise. And when you look at our solution stack, it's really designed to help you implement these best practices. You start from the top down, and this is a very simplified version of our solutions. We have a number of others that I left off the page, but start with Serena Business Manager. That's really the ideal platform for managing end-to-end process control over the software development lifecycle. Incredibly easy to adapt, to connect to any other system, and works across virtually all platforms that the developers are going to be using. We've got a number of solutions, requirements, release control, service management that are meant to enforce process around some key processes for the software development lifecycle. Dimension CM, and if you've seen 14, if you haven't seen 14, I hope you will see Dimensions 14 at this conference. It is beautiful, really designed to be something developers love. And all of our products are really designed so that they're user-friendly. Our developers use all of our products. Dimension CM is the ideal repository, single repository for your source code. Hardened, secure, very traceable and compliant. ChangeMan ZMF, fantastic product. Our mainframe development team, without parallel in the industry. This is really the gold standard on the mainframe. And then finally, Serena Deployment Automation, which is a newer product for us, but we've been investing in it quite aggressively over the last few years. And that's meant to deploy applications from development into production without a mistake. So all the solutions are designed to help customers implement these best practices. So I'm going to end. I'm going to say thank you for spending some time with me this morning. Hopefully you picked up a nugget or two that you can take back and learn something. Maybe you learned about a new risk to the software development lifecycle. Maybe you learned what early is. I guarantee nobody outside this room knows what early is, so that should be new. I got so interested in this topic, I literally wrote a white paper. So if you are interested in this subject and want to learn more, I encourage you to read the white paper. It started off as just a one-pager that I was sending around to people, and finally it just sort of took off on a life of its own. And so now you should all have a copy of that. And to help you remember the slogan for today, we also have pretty cool T-shirts, like as modeled by this guy up here. I didn't want to stand next to this guy, actually. I was hoping they could pick a slightly less attractive guy to stand next to, but anyway, they didn't do that, obviously. So, anyway, have a great time at the conference. Next up is, I think I'm back to Kevin. Are you back up? Kevin will talk about our solutions. And remember one thing, move fast without breaking things. Thank you.